I think that's just an accommodation. You should probably let people know it's going to be said, and if people have an exception to that, then you should use a facsimile as long as it conveys the proper understanding. Yeah, right. I think it wouldn't it wouldn't be a big deal to make it a social expectation in certain public professional venues like medical or law venues for people to just know they might hear that shit and to know where they might hear that stuff. So, like in some sort of lecture or something, I don't know, or in a courtroom. I don't see a problem with that. And if someone has to go, there can be accommodations, like you said. I honestly think that's fine, right? That's not like, I mean, it sounds weird, but it's not that different from just like wheelchair accommodations, right? I mean, it's easier because you're just making sure people don't say certain shit. You don't even have to build anything. But people don't think about it like that. You know what I mean? They think you not saying something or you having to accommodate people in a certain way is you getting fucked over or something. It's like the Canadian law that made Jordan Peterson really famous. It really only affects people in like really specific public venues where basically like a person has to be there. So of course the professional or whatever can't just like misgender someone on purpose. You know what I mean? But because it even approached affecting someone's ability to insult another human being, people just lost their fucking minds. Yeah, exactly. My freedom of speech. Yeah, all the fucking Canadians, there's like this vein of Canadian conservatism where it's like they're all fucking Americans, and that's Jordan B. Peterson's sort of people, you know. Fucking, some of them are even harder about freedom of speech than Americans, like Stefan Molyneux and Jordan Peterson. They're both fucking crazy.
And on the R word. As far as hold on, I'm not talking.
Infamous nuts.
So as far as using it in a clinical sense, as somebody was saying, I just don't think that you like using the word itself. Like, let's say you're using the N word, right? Because you're literally not allowed to say that on Twitch. So you know what everybody knows what. Shut up for a sec, Charbo.
We know which.
Everyone knows what you mean when you say the N word, right? Okay. So
I think Peterson was, at least with the actual media people, Peterson did come here for a long time to teach and for school, I think. Molyneux's just a fucking nut, but I think he came down here too, but he is Canadian. But that's some of it is like that, where it seems like a bunch of them are the people who go back and forth between the two countries. So maybe that has something to do with it. Because isn't Lauren Southern also Canadian? Isn't a shitload of these people Canadian?
I just don't think
it's like they came out really hard, but for a long time, Canadians weren't really as hardcore as Americans, so it was really easy for them to just like seem like Americans.
Any value by not using the word
right.
and referring to it.
Yeah, so a bunch of these fucking people are Canadian, but they it's like fucking listening to an American.
So this is like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna go to peanut butter. He's no.
Yeah, one moment before peanut butter, you'll be next. Charles, we talk. I would really like to hear CTV. He's been sitting here for a minute, and then we'll do you peanut butter.
Can I say one thing? I'd just like to say that thank you for welcoming me in, and all you guys look sort of sexy and fine, and thank you for letting me be in this group.
You're quite welcome. CTV, what's your take?
Look, words only have power if you give them power.
I don't want to listen to this motherfucker.
So, like, because we can look at the definition of retard. Or, if you give it power, if you don't give it power to allow it to bother you, then guess what? It's not going to bother you, right? Because you can just...
Yeah.
I liked CTV for like 2 hippy dippies. I'm not that big on them, actually. I just feel like it's the same shit over and over again. I mean, he has a better thing than most of the conservatives. That's true.
Because I'm gonna have trouble. I'm gonna have some trouble, bro.
Can I ask everybody to quit calling people losers too?
I don't want to listen to that shit too much. It's like naively true, but it's like such an insane oversimplification, you know? Yeah, exactly. That's easy when every word anyone's worried about doesn't apply to you, you know? I mean, what? I mean, I guess there's the C word, but I've never gave a shit about the C word. I see why people want it banned for consistency reasons, and I guess I agree, you know? I didn't really like too much the wave of edgy leftoidism of people just using the C word randomly. I mean, I get why. It's because it actually doesn't have that much power. But I just think it's weird. It's like too much wonk. It's like too much internet brain shit for me to want to just use the C word. But like fucking CTV could say anything, you know? Or anyone could say anything to him and he's not going to get offended. So I don't want to hear that shit. Just ask CTV if when black people stopped being slaves, it automatically became okay for white people to say the N-word. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they, like, conservatives, especially, like, older male conservatives, just do not fucking understand what it's like to have basically all the wealthy, powerful people in the country you live in just call you by a certain word like that, pejoratively all your fucking life, like you're a dog or something. You know, it's like they understand so little of that and understand so much, like, personal entitlement in their position in society that it doesn't even cross their fucking mind that has permanently affected some people. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, these are the people who don't believe in, like, therapy and shit, or don't, you know, or don't believe in, like, stopping your alcoholism, so. Yeah. I identify as white. I don't just identify as European American. I identify actively with the apparatus that has given me, like, my comfort in life. You know what I mean? I think we ought to. Not, like, as if it's a good thing, but we should recognize it. You know what I mean? I mean, thinking back on my life, a bunch of times my life could have easily spilled over and I would have been fucked, just like a statistic, but I was middle class. And I was middle class very likely because my parents were white. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just stupid because, you know, like, white people, a lot of them have, like, this illusion that, like, white people are being harmed at some crazy rate or something. They watch too much Fox News shit. I don't know. It's like they don't understand that white people are still super fucking dominant. The only racial minority that comes close is just, like, Asian people. But a lot of the Asian people who come here are already, like, middle class-ish, you know, so... They just don't know anything. I don't know. They're like reactive. They've been told by all of their news media that the POCs are coming for them because they're white. You know, it's just ridiculous.
While we're at it,
It really is just like a white middle class fascist movement. It's fucking wild.
I don't like it when people call each other losers.
Wait. I'm not gonna let somebody.
Low value is another bad one. I don't like low value. That sucks.
I'm just trying to say, can we be respectful? So
I'm not gonna let the guy that was interrupting me and wouldn't shut the fuck up a minute ago is now asking for respectfulness. Give me a fucking break.
Okay, hold on one second.
Low.
CTV,
I have something to say.
Cricket style. Thanks for coming through with the raid, my guy. Much appreciated. If you guys don't know Cricket Style Jay does content similar to mine, but
Yeah, I think part of the reason people, especially white people, they just want to identify with like this made up, like European whiteness or whatever. They want to identify with the good parts because they just really don't want to give up this illusion that they made everything in their life. You know what I mean? I guess because I had like a kind of a rocky early life and early adulthood, I don't have like that kind of insecurity. But a fucking bunch of people do, and they don't want to just be like, yeah, I'm part of this fucking, dominant culture within the U.S. that kept a bunch of fucking people down for my own gain. You know? I mean, I didn't do it, but it's what happened.
it's freaking really good. It's pretty fantastic. Make sure you guys go follow him. Give him a sub, throw him some bits, do that kind of stuff. But definitely go check him out. He does conversations and interviews like mine. He also shows up on a lot of debates. Very smart individuals. Helped me out with a lot of things. Loved that guy. Great guy. Cricket's great. Slurpwiz, you're here too? You get a shout out too, my friend. Slurpwiz is great too. They do some crazy stuff. If you guys are looking to have some fun, go talk to Slurpwiz. That's some fun content there. Frickin' music, dancing, jokes, frickin' everything. They've got a busy life though, so I don't know how much streaming they've been doing lately. I've been missing them. Hopefully they'll be back around any time now though. That was good, man. There was a lot of shouting.
Okay, Stardust, go.
Yeah, what's up? I'm Stardust. I'm generally pro freedom of speech. I generally just follow the rules of which platform I'm on. I personally, I've heard everything under the sun, so I'm like not really super fazed by anything, and I'm probably not the best person to ask on this. I've heard everything under the sun levied at me. In general, like, I personally don't really care, but I know for a functioning society, there are things that, you know, are kind of seen as rude and maybe, you know, hello, like, don't do that. Yeah, I guess I've just accepted my place on the internet, so.
Okay, Ninetales has her hand up, so Ninetales, go.
Yeah, so responding to CTV's point, it's one of my favorite ones, because it's so, like, individual responsibility focused that, like, it's the power that we give these slurs that matter. Well, okay, so that might be true to some extent. It does depend on the person. But I don't think that they have as much control as you're assuming here. And that's the problem that we always assume with individual responsibilities, that people aren't a part of a broader ecosystem, and that their psychology isn't affected by the society that they're in. Except the problem is that we're very social beings, and so it does. And the second part of this is that, like I said, these are tools of vector. These are tools that work as a vector. So when the people who have the power to use them in an abusive or violent way use them to be violent, then the people on the other end don't actually have control of how violent it is. And it all comes down to, like, we can say that words are subjective, but that doesn't mean that there isn't underlying psychological forces that give those words extra weight.
Yeah, like, just saying apropos of nothing, you are the one who gives word power because you are the one that reacts to the word doesn't fucking mean anything. That's like in the chapter before chapter 1 in a psychology book from Psych 101 at a community college or some shit. I mean, you can go take the class if you want. Like, yeah, it's fucking true, I guess, but there's a lot more going on, you know? There's all kinds of shit people don't directly control about their own psychology. And truly, when you are, like, a white man, especially if you're, like, middle class, or even just working class in some areas, you don't understand what it's like to be dehumanized quite like this. So, I mean, all you have to do is do some reading about even, like, post-Civil War Southern culture and how it interacted with, like, black people for fucking ever, for decades, over a century after the war, to understand, like, why it fucks people up to hear the N-word. Like, not every black person, people aren't saying that black people are born with, like, a native dislike of the N-word. No one fucking means that. They're talking about the people who are treated really poorly and part of it was being dehumanized via that. He just has no idea what he's talking about. He's just some fucking, you know, I don't want to get too shitty, but I have a lot of shit I can pile on, like, rural conservative men. And they often suck.
That go beyond someone's personal worldviews.
Okay, Sprinkles, you got your hand.
Give it that weight though.
So
I mean, yeah, I imagine a lot of them are like either got in their own way, sort of got past it, or never felt anything from it. But you know, it's like just fucking respect the community's wishes considering the history of the United States. It's just a word. You know, sometimes I feel like we should turn that around on conservatives because they're like, well, it's just a word. You're the one who gives it power. But yeah, it is just a word. You can just stop saying it. You know what I mean? It's not that big of a deal. I don't have to use it. I stopped using it even in private, even with my closest friends years ago. You know what I mean? I don't do that shit because I just think using it too much, it's not like a fucking brain infection, but it sort of replicates it in your behavior, and you should just stop. You know what I mean? It's not even that funny. I don't even... Yeah, there's just not any time I can think that it's that funny that, like, a non-black person should be using it.
when it comes to like